In this video, I'll show you how to take data from your PostgreSQL database and display it in the app sidebar in Zendesk Support. The app I'm going to use is called FactBranch, and it works in Zendesk Support, Zendesk Chat, and Zendesk Cell. So if you create an account at factbranch.com, this is the first screen you'll see. And we want to display show data in the FactBranch Zendesk app, so that's what I'm going to select. And this creates a simple data pipeline. A data pipeline consists of a trigger. In this case, it's the Zendesk app that receives data and forwards it to the next node. As a next node, we want to query our database. So I'm going to create a node and select PostgreSQL, connect to my PostgreSQL database. Here is where I enter my my credentials. So this is just a test demo database. If your database runs behind a firewall, you might want to activate this option, and you'll get an IP address that you'll have to allow access from in your firewall. But in our case, it doesn't matter for now. So I'm connecting. If everything works out, I'm forwarded to my node, and my PostgreSQL data source was already selected as authentication method here. So now I'm gonna write a very simple query so select all from my customer table, and I'm gonna match email address. And I want to use a variable here because I want to match with the custom email address, of course, that I'll get from my Zendesk ticket. So here you see the input data for this node, and to copy the variable for the email field, I'm going to click on copy variable here and paste it in here. So this is the syntax for variables in FactBranch. It takes from the trigger, it takes the input data and selects the email field. So if I run this now, it runs all right, but it doesn't return any results, and that's because I don't have a test@example.com row in my database, but I do have an alice@example.com. So if I run this query again, it returns one row. So what you've also seen up here is that you can edit your input data just to try out your query and maybe try out different queries and how your query works with different inputs. So let me return to the data pipeline. So what happens now is the trigger. So the data pipeline gets triggered by the Zendesk app. Then it forwards the email field, for example, to the PostgreSQL node. It runs the query, and whatever it gets back from the database, it forwards to our display node. And I'm going to set up the display node now. What you see here is the data input. And those are basically the rows, in this case, a single row that we received from the previous node. A nice and convenient FactBranch feature is the Generate a UI button. This attempts to generate a UI, an HTML template, based on the input data we got from the previous node. So in our case, this is a simple label value display. And the neat thing is, if you want to change anything here, for example, instead of street address, we just want to call it address. You can change it here, and in the output, it automatically updates. Our templating language is based on, or is very similar to Liquid or Ginger 2. So if you're familiar with those two, you should feel right at home. So now that we're happy with the output, the only thing left is to install the app in Zendesk. If you go back to the data pipeline and look at the trigger and the config page, You'll find links to the marketplace pages for our 3 apps in Zendesk and an API key that we need for installation. So I'm going to copy that now. And if I go to Zendesk Support, to the marketplace page and hit install, I'll be asked for the API key. I'm going to paste it in here. I can additionally enable role or group restrictions. That's if I want to only display the app to some agents, I can activate those too. But in the demo, I just want to show it. So I'm going to hit install. And after a few seconds, it'll install the app. And if I return to my sample ticket and refresh the apps, you'll see FactBranch is loaded, and it has queried the database, loaded results for Bob, and displays it here. So that's how you can query your PostgreSQL database, all from Zendesk Support. As I said, the same applies. The app, everything works the same for Zendesk Chat and Zendesk Cell. So go to factbranch.com and start your 14-day free trial today.